Everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, July the 5th, 2010, Council Chambers at 7 o'clock p.m. The first item of business would be the adoption of the minutes. We would be looking to adopt minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting from June 21st, the annual general meeting from June 21st, the regular open minutes from June 21st, and special open minutes from June the 24th, 2010. Do I have that resolution, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Cronmiller. Any discussion on any of those? Councillor Rhodes.
Just one note on the Committee of the Whole meeting from June 21st. Item number 1, there's a motion in there seconded by Councillor Rhodes. I don't think that's correct. I believe I was acting mayor at that time during that meeting.
I'd be happy to go down as that secondary. Yeah.
Record is that? Okay, thank you. Is there any further or changes? Hearing none, we would be looking for the adoption of these as amended. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There are some late items that are coming onto the agenda for tonight. First one will be the BMX Track. This will appear as business item number 7. Item number 2 would be an out-of-town meeting report for Councillor Chadsey. This will appear as business item 1. I already have a similar application in there. And then we have the food and beverage kiosk that could possibly be appearing at Destination Osoyoos. This will appear as business item number 8. Do I have a motion to approve those additions? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? They are now on the agenda. Under delegations, very, very pleased to have Director Allan Patton, Oliver Rural Area C of the Regional District Okanagan Similkameen, and Allan is the chair of the Okanagan Similkameen Airshed Coalition, and we have requested his presence here. So, Allan, take it away, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and councillors of Osoyoos Town Council. It's a pleasure to be here. Mayor Wells mentioned that I am the chair of the Okanagan Similkameen Airshed Coalition, and that's correct. This is a coalition made up of the 3 regional districts in the Okanagan, Okanagan North, Okanagan Central, and our own RDOS. So it takes in the 2 valleys, Similkameen and the Okanagan. And as you know, the air pollution is something that travels from each regional district without any kind of problem. So it makes sense that we deal with air quality and those related issues as one unit. And that's what we've done with the Air Coalition. For the Regional District Okanagan Similkameen, it's only been probably 4 or 5 years that we've had an air quality division at all. And so we've really advanced quite a bit, going from our own air quality committee, and the Central Okanagan had their own, and I think the North was just starting theirs when we decided to put an air coalition in for the whole valley. So it makes sense, and we've done this, and I'll just speak a little bit on the Airshed Coalition and some of what we also do in the Regional District Okanagan Similkameen. So there's a memorandum of understanding that requires the 3 regional districts to partner in this coalition. And we've had the 3 sign up, and we're about to ask the 3 regional districts to sign up again for the next year, because we went from a 3-year agreement to a 1-year agreement. And And so this will be coming shortly to all the regional districts. The benefits of the coalition, it's exchange of information for all the local governments to provincial and federal, and we do all the airshed analysis, management, and policies at that coalition. And we like to compare all the policies and management styles of each regional district, and we can learn from each other by doing that. There's increased cooperation and collaboration amongst all these governments, and it's a common sense approach. So we have accomplished at the Air Coalition a valley-wide plan, which is towards an Okanagan and Similkameen Valley Air Quality Management Plan, and this document can be viewed on the website. We deal with all aspects of air quality, except for transit. Transit, we decided at the Air Coalition Committee that we would leave that to the three major municipalities of the three regional districts, which is Vernon, Penticton, and Kelowna, and now West Kelowna. And this I felt was appropriate because that's where it's centralized. We are dealing with some public transit between the communities, and we deal with that locally at each regional district. But in substance, it really doesn't have a heck of a lot to do with air quality or carbon emission reduction. So because of that, and until we do decide to take on an expanded mandate that would include an air quality transportation plan that would deal specifically with those two items, we are comfortable in keeping that out of our hands, and we have plenty to do. So, and I explained the signing for the MOU, and you'll be getting notice of that. So we just received, like last meeting was last week, and we received $10,000 on the anti-idling program, and that was announced by the provincial government, by a provincial government employee there. So so that's good. That's the kind of thing we do at the Air Coalition. What happens is that we actually don't fund the Air Coalition in itself. It's funded entirely by the provincial government. But on the other hand, most all the grants going to all the regional districts' air quality divisions do come from grant applications that come from the Air Coalition. And this is important to realize. I met with the Minister of Environment, Minister Penner, Ms. Barry Penner, and we discussed that situation specifically with him. And the provincial government prefers to have a single body to deal with instead of individual municipalities and regional districts on air quality issues. So it's important that the coalition be funded by the provincial government. That management plan I just talked about is paid for by the provincial government. And aside from the in-kind contributions that regional districts provide in terms of staff and per diems, that kind of stuff, all what we do at the coalition is funded by the provincial government and not by local governments and regional districts. So our budget at the regional district, Okanagan Similkameen, is approximately $200,000, give or take, and that is specifically for issues that happen inside our regional district. So 2 elected officials are appointed from each regional district board on the Airshed Coalition. So it's myself and Gary Litke representing the RDOS, and we each have 1 vote. It's a different setup than OBWB, Okanagan Basin Water Board, or the SIR program, which I'm also a director on. And of course, your mayor your mayor here, Mayor Wells, is the chair of OBWB, so he's very familiar in how the funding works and how the governance works in OBWB, and it's quite similar to that of the STIR board. The Airshed Coalition, on the other hand, does not make any particular decisions on their own. We always refer back to the regional districts for their approval for anything we do that goes outside of the coalition or outside of the 3 regional districts. And we like it that way, and it's going to stay that way, I'm quite sure. Unless there's a move from other regional districts to change that governance structure, I think it works quite well. It means a little extra in time, but we don't figure it's appropriate at this stage to have our own taxing authority and make our decisions outside of regional districts. So that gives you a basic outline of the Airshed Coalition, and I'll just go through a few of the things that that the RDOS Air Quality Program does. We do an agricultural waste disposal chipping program where most of the bulk of the money from our RDOS budget goes to. There's also the agricultural plastic program, wood stove exchange program, engine emission reduction programs, and we had a climate change facilitator that we had hired last year, and that's over now. The province has withdrawn that. So all these programs are in the regional district, Okanagan, Similkameen, but each one of those items I just listed off are items that we dealt with in our agenda at the last meeting last week at Air Coalition. Since when we ask for funding, we can go straight to the provincial government. We have provincial government staff on hand all the time. So I don't think I really need to go through each of those individually. It's written here, and these are all good programs, and we're all continuing along here. I just wanted to add about the Okanagan Children's Festival, and there's also school programs like the Mine Grind. I've been a part of that, acted as a judge in Penticton High School Mine Grind situation. It was excellent learning experience for me. The kids are smart as whips, and they know much more about the environment than I do. And it was really fun. They really get into it, and they learn a lot, and so do we all. And also, we develop that material for any fairs, conventions of any kind that's in the area, and that's very important. So we set up booths, we have information, handouts, and all that kind of stuff. So that's important. And I wanted to touch on that a bit because it's one of our biggest challenges is communication, and it's very difficult actually, especially with different types of people like the East Indians, the Portuguese communities, the different ethnic communities we have around. Sometimes it's not easy to be able to get the word out to these people, but I tell you, once they do get the word out that we do have programs to provide alternatives to burning, they jump on it right away, and they're quite excited to join in on them. So that's a problem for us, admittedly, and we need to do a better job of that. We had Mohini Singh, who was a communications officer for the Agricultural Agri-Stability Program. She was at our committee meeting once, and she told us really the only way to get out with the East Indian community is to knock on their doors. And so I had a food safety person come around to my place to certify me as a food safe farm, and I asked her if it was possible to send around some information on air quality and alternatives to burning to all the farmers that she goes to. And so we're working on doing things like that, because it's really, that's where it really helps, is to actually get into their living rooms and discuss things there. And once they know it, they'll jump on the bandwagon. Now, I just have to say that there's difficulties because we can't accomplish everything we might want to accomplish in air quality, because we have no say in how agriculture, we can't disallow, for instance, burning in agriculture. That's a provincial legislation allowance, but we can do things like smoke control bylaws. Now, we didn't do that yet up to this point, but we are moving in that direction because the province was at one time trying to put in a provincial open burning smoke control bylaw regulation. That's the title of it. But they backed off on that somewhat. They've ran into quite a few difficulties on the criteria. So now we're proceeding ourselves, our own, on developing a draft. We have a draft smoke control bylaw, but that's going to be coming around to each individual municipality by our staff. So you'll be getting a delegation from our staff on that smoke control bylaw. We might not be able to to prevent them from burning, but we can prevent them from creating smoke when they do burn, and that's a big plus. So that's the direction we need to move in. Like Mayor Wells, I get frustrated when I drive down the valley and see all these plumes of smoke when I spend so much time, and when the board spends a lot of money, and when all of us spend time and effort on dealing with air quality. But as I said, we've this kind of thing takes time. We've just started, and we've seen big improvements in our air quality since this funding has been approved at our regional district, and since we've got all these programs in place. So I have nothing but a positive attitude about the future in reducing substantially any kind of smoke in the valley, and increasing our air quality that we can all enjoy for our own health and welfare. So I think I'll leave it at that, and maybe you have some questions.
Thanks, Allan. I obviously do, and you were right on topic there with the issue, which is burning in the rural areas. And I guess my question is, what would it take to accomplish that? Because when we have a $200,000 budget, and Osoyoos is in for about $18,000 of that, I think over $18,000. And we work hard to have no burning in town. And right as soon as you hit a boundary, we can have 3 or 4 people burning. And the phone calls really do go off, and people want to know what's going on. And again, with that kind of money out there, and we can't control burning, I find it quite upsetting, to be quite honest. I know you and I talk about it all the time. If I'm driving down on Black Sage or something, I phone Allan on his cell phone. I'm going, who's looking after Area C these days? So, but it is really tough for us, and you know, not to negate where you're going with the smoke control, which would be the venting days and all that. And I know there has been a lot of work done on burning methods and things like that. And but boy, it sure would be nice to make that big plunge.
Well, I agree, and I share your frustration. I certainly do, and there's obviously room for improvement, and we're working on getting there. The smoke control bylaw could potentially be a big avenue where you know, the disincentive is there to burn, and if we keep the funding in place, then we have a solid alternative. For farmers, you know, we're competing with the price of a match. But when we bring in the chipper, and it still costs them a lot more than the cost of a match. They have to load the chipper. They spend all the money on pulling it and gathering it to the chipper, loading it up, and then dealing with the chips. It's not cheap for them. It's a lot easier just to burn. But we're finding a lot of really good cooperation, and there has been many acres to date. I see this, it says 11.6 here of old growth, and those are big trees and big piles. But we've had more than 100 acres last year, probably more than 100 acres in our regional district. That's a lot of smoke that's not going into the valley. You have to recognize that. But obviously there's room for big improvements. The provincial burning smoke control bylaw did not include the small little grass fires and the home side, the home grass burning fires. So and ours will. So we want to cover the valley bottom and make sure that we can still make some big improvements. And that kind of thing we can do together with our bylaw enforcement officer. And the way local government does that bylaw enforcement is it's an education program first, with the enforcement coming later if the problem continues at the same place again and again. And we intend to use those tools, and those are important tools to go. Now, like Kelowna has got a 2-year bylaw where you have to let the piles sit for 2 years, which is a big encumbrance on farmers. They do not like that. So, but that kind of thing, hey, let's chip instead. We want to get rid of this pile. We don't. I have a problem, and the problem is the same for other farmers in the area, and that's fire blight. And I'll be probably burning this summer. So I get a specific permit to do that, and they can only be a certain size, and I have to do specific, because you can't chip that stuff. There's no, if there was sprays that you could handle with it, but there isn't. We don't have any tools in our farm toolbox to spray for fire blight. Therefore, we have to burn. We have no choice. And we don't even want to travel the roads with that stuff. The funguses will spread, and it's really a problem this year especially. So, and it was a problem 3 years ago, and so you might see these little pockets of fires going on during the summer, which is very unfortunate, but it's a huge expense and a real big imposition. It really makes you question whether you can have apples and pears out, because that's what gets affected by fire blight, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's terrible. Anyway, so regardless, I see lots of room for improvement. You'll be getting a delegation again soon from Janice on this on our own regional district smoke control bylaw, and I think that'll go quite far in reducing those plumes of smoke that we all want to get rid of.
I think there's one more question, Councillor Rhodes, and we do have a time frame.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, good report. Thanks for the information.
Okay.
As you're aware, Osoyoos has moved forward, and we now have a bylaw in place, and we're quite proud of the fact that we're now an idle-free community, and we're putting a lot of time and effort into promoting that aspect right now. Do you see any potential for conflict with our bylaw as you move forward with your project at all?
No, I'm hoping that we can copy that. We would look at seeing what yours is and maybe applying it if it's appropriate. It was a big item on our last Air Coalition meeting because that funding was just announced at that meeting. So contrary to a conflict, we can maybe benefit, all of us, from that. Idling is definitely a problem, and we need to have those signs. It's really going to, most of that money is probably going to go to the signage that goes with it. So, and we want to be able to have those signs available in all the high problem areas, schools, that kind of thing. So it's really difficult for drive-throughs. We haven't figured out that one yet. And also we have this brand new problem where you can start cars remotely in winter now, and that really stimulates idling problems. So that's really a big education program. But no, we'll look at what you have and see if it's appropriate for other jurisdictions. Good.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Thanks, Allan. I hope that we're included in that money for signage and that.
You bet.
Being the first community out here to enact the anti-idling bylaw. We could sit here and listen to you for quite a while.
I could go on for quite a
no,
while.
well, of course, I know that.
Yeah.
So thanks for your presentation, and if we have more questions, we'll certainly be in touch with you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
The next item of business would be a water matter. dealing with water servicing on 81st Street. I'm going to recuse myself for conflict. This is the same property that I own a portion of that I was involved with in the sewer project. So I'm going to pass the gavel to Councillor Ryan, and I believe Councillor Chadsey is going to do the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Wells. So, as Mayor Wells said, this has to do with water servicing on 81st Street. So, Councillor Chadsey, if you would introduce this.
Thank you. This is an application for water in our irrigation district. Back in 2002, the town of Osoyoos irrigation water system was extended from 87th Street down 104th and then along 81st Street. It stopped just shy of lots 1, 2, and 3, as you can see on the map, when the map comes up. And so the properties on the north end of 81st Street, 3 of them are not part of the Osoyoos Irrigation District. And in order to be connected to this system, council will need to approve a request for connection and also to extend the irrigation district to include them. 2 properties have made written application. They are the last 2 properties, lots 1 and lots 2. And the plan now will show that where the existing water irrigation district line is and how it would have to be extended. That main water line will need to be extended. The total cost would be about $14,500 plus $1,500 for each property for a capital cost charge. These properties, when connected, would also be required and responsible for metering. The scope of the work would be to include extending a 100-millimeter water main to the end of 81st Street. It would include a blow-off and it would service the 2 properties from the main to the property line. And then the property owner, of course, is responsible to connect to their existing line. Town Public Work Department would require proof of disconnection from their existing source of water. Lots 1, 2, and 3 on Plan 8741, and lots 1 and 2 at the other end on Plan 9185 would require water main extension in order to provide the service. And then lots 4 through 10, Plan 8741 would be serviced through the existing. So basically what it means is when that line was extended, nobody hooked on, as I'm understanding it. And so now we have 6 lots 4 through 10, who can simply connect at any time. We have lots 1 and 2 at the south end on Plan 9185, who are in the water district but would require a water main extension. And then we have lots 1, 2, and 3, Plan 8741, along the north end of 81st Street. And they would require inclusion into the water district and then extension of the water line. So staff has given us a couple of options and have not provided a recommendation. But their options are that we accept the 2 properties, which are Lot 1 and 2, Plan 8741. And they pay all the associated costs and they come into the irrigation district. And the other one is that council reject the request, but that we would reconsider that request if all the properties would consider being included in the town's irrigation district. So I'm not sure whether or not you want council to make a motion or... Okay. So I think I've provided the background that we have.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that go with option 1. Council accepts the property based with all the costs. for lot 1 and 2, West lot 1.
I'm going to repeat the motion because I'm not sure if you have access to a microphone.
Oh.
Okay, so okay.
So, yes, Councillor Moreira, do you want to just make that motion again, then just right up to the mic?
Okay, I make the motion that we accept option 1.
Okay. And that would be to, that the two properties that have made the written request, with all the associated costs to the property owners and bring them into the irrigation district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And seconder? Okay, Councillor Ranjo?
I'm just wondering what will happen to the other lots, 3 and 4, if later on they decide to go on. Since 1 and 2 is going to pay the costs, what's going to happen after?
I think there would probably be latecomer fees that would apply there, that they would have to pick up some of the costs. No? Okay. Okay, Councillor Moreira?
No, all the costs will be paid now. Now, if these two lots, two owners, want to recoup costs from the other property owners later, that's up to them. We will have nothing to do with that.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Chadsey?
That's what I was going to say. There is no latecomer agreement.
Okay, so they bear the full costs, and the others will get a free ride if they.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So we have a motion then before us. Any other discussion with council on this matter? Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. I'd like to ask what impact this has on our policy or procedure regarding our extraterritorial service, if I could, please. For
this particular service would be outside our extraterritorial service because it's really not one of our town municipal services. It's part of our irrigation district, so it's in the irrigation district. It's just a matter of getting the service to the various properties within the irrigation district, so we're okay on it. The policy doesn't touch it.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no more discussion or no more questions, are you ready for the question then? Okay, those in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will ask the mayor to return, and we'll continue.
Yep. Next portion of business would be letter F, correspondence. A request from Wendy Dion for financial support. That would be presented by Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a letter we've received from Wendy Dion, and it's a copy of a letter that she sent to the president of the BC Grape Growers Association, talking about puncturevine and the problems with puncturevine. And she is picking up from a committee meeting, an agricultural committee meeting in Penticton that was dealing with this issue, and puncturevine was indicated that it's not only very resistant to a lot of things, but they've been using Roundup to try to kill it, or to keep it at bay at least. And she's very concerned about the effects of Roundup in the soil and in the water table, and even in grapes that might take it up through their intake of moisture and so on from the soil. And so she wants to provide an alternative to the use of that before the season begins. Now this was written in mid-June, and so she says that it doesn't really have any other herbicides that can be used. It's not doesn't have any predators here, and that one of the only ways of dealing with it is to pull it out manually. And so she's asking that all the different groups that she has copied with this would contribute financially to this effort of manually removing it. And she said she's proposing to apply directly to the Agricultural Research and Development Corporation and to all those listed in the letter, of which we were one, for monies to fund a crew of 5 and 2 leased trucks and equipment specifically to attack puncturevine. And so she basically is asking for our support on this. So I know that puncturevine is a problem. I have a number of blown out tires and tubes to prove it. But I think that I know that the regional district has been working on this, and at this point it seems like this is a letter that's trying to solicit support, and I'm not sure whether she's had any success yet in directing this, or who would in fact direct it. So I would move that we acknowledge the letter to her and ask to be kept informed as to progress, and that we will consider it in future, depending on how well she's doing, and that we are cooperating with the regional district in this matter at the present time.
So that would be basically a motion to
receive and communicate
yes,
that way.
Okay, that sounds excellent. Councillor Rhodes, any further discussion? Yeah, this is taking over our part of the valley, that's for sure. It's into Penticton now. It is a bad plant. It has those little spikes that break off that if you're outside, they sit in your, you bring them in on your shoes, and they strike later. They have a weighted seed fragment that is always point up. So when you're walking around in your bare feet over where your shoes are, certainly lets you know that you've been in contact with puncturevine. It has the ability to flatten tires, wheelbarrows, all those sort of things. I know people, we have quite an infestation up at Desert Park. I know ex-councillor Allan Carswell won't even ride his bike up there because of the amount of flats, and I'm sure we could talk to our CAO, Mr. Romanko, and I'm sure he's experienced a lot of flats since he's come to this area, or either that or you stay on the highway. So we certainly have to do something about this, but I think it is at the regional level, and we are aware of it and are willing to partner. I'm sure we seem to partner with a lot of different good causes, but if there's other people out there that want to be a part of the solution, sure we can partner with. All in favor of that? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The second item of correspondence is a request from Marilyn Young. Councillor Cronmiller will take the lead on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a letter from Marilyn Young of Sawgrass Crescent in Osoyoos, and she's writing with regards to the lack of a sidewalk between the Osoyoos Golf Course and the high school. She states it's not a new request and certainly not a huge expense, so I would like council to consider bringing this matter up for discussion. He goes on to speak of the traffic situation and the difficulty of walking along the side of the road to the high school and the interest of the neighbors throughout the golf course neighborhood in this. And I would make a motion that we receive this letter for information, and then we send a letter to Mrs. Young advising her of the present planning and status of the sidewalk from the golf course subdivision to the high school.
Seconder, Councillor Ryan. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to advise that in our discussions with this year and our planning discussions for the budget, this matter came up, and we certainly discussed at length the project of a sidewalk and improvements to the walking area from the high school down to Highway 97 as well, and that some monies have been set aside within the budget to make some improvements, and there's also a line item there for borrowing money that so that we could complete a sidewalk from the high school to the subdivision. And this matter is before council this year and part of our planning process. Will come up for discussion later in the year as to how we will fund the sidewalk and these improvements. I'm pleased to talk about that and look forward to the completion of the sidewalk, because I certainly use it, and would really look forward to a safer walk from the subdivision to the high school.
Great. Anything further? I guess just the one when I read the letter, this is not a new request. That part I agree with, and certainly not a huge expense. That's where we have a bit of an error. Sidewalks, particularly if we're looking at curb, and then you know, there's always the storm water and which way is it going to run, and make sure that it doesn't get undermined and washed out. And nothing's ever quite as simple or as cheap as it appears. But I know this has a high priority with council. It has for a couple of years now, and I think we'd all be quite proud if we can get this one done. Certainly recognize the need. There's nothing further. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Next item of business under bylaws. It's a council procedure bylaw for adoption. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the adoption of Council Procedure Bylaw number 1271/2010, and this was read for the second and third time at our regular meeting on June the 21st, 2010, and it does a number of things. It makes changes to clarify certain procedures, including those for public hearings and delegations. It adds a notion of notice of motion requirement, and particularly, I guess the thing that people are going to see most importantly, it changes the meeting time of council from 7 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Mondays, on the regular Monday meeting. We've also made an amendment to it when it was read the last time, and that was to ensure that committees of council have the agendas and circulated to all members of council, and these are also open meetings, so they'll be made known to the public through our normal means of the notice board and also the e-news, and also that the agenda items are available to members of council upon request. It has already been run in the newspaper 4 consecutive weeks as per requirement, and there's been no response from the public, and so it is up for adoption, and I would like to move, Mr. Mayor, that council now adopt bylaw number 1271/2010.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Chadsey. Any discussion? No discussion. No. All in favor? Opposed? We'll soon be meeting at 2 p.m. Ms. Van Vienen. Okay, this would be the August meeting, the third Monday of August. Correct? Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Ryan, discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? August 16th, we'll be meeting at 2 o'clock. See how that works. I have said this before, but just for the people that are watching, we cannot do it under the community charter. We cannot do this on a trial basis to see how it works. So we're gonna stick our chins out a bit and try this and see how it goes. If it's not working for town members or council or just in a general flow of business, we can always deal with that later, but we do not have the option of a trial run. Thank you. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, just a reminder that it will still be shown on the local channel in the evening of the council meeting. So those of you who watch it at home will still be watching it Monday evening. And also that this is just our regular council meetings, public hearings. Council has the option to choose a date and a time for each individual public hearing. So.
And looking at public attendance, we would probably be looking for public hearings at the slot.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, and thanks for adding that, because otherwise people would be wondering how they would be able to see it on Channel 18 or on the Osoyoos web. Okay, thank you. Next one under Business 1, Council meeting reports, expenses for a couple out-of-town meetings for me, but I'll let Councillor Rhodes handle it, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Yeah, we have two council report, starting with Mayor Wells. On June 26th, he attended the Geese Management meeting in Penticton. June 28th, the Highway 3 Coalition meeting in Princeton. And a total of 2 meetings at $100 apiece, be $200. And secondly, Councillor Chadsey attended 2 meetings on the same day, RDOS CAO evaluation in Penticton, followed by the Child Youth Committee meeting held in Oliver. So that would be 1 meeting at $100. And I would move that we, not sure what the wording would be, but to be approved.
Seconder, Councillor Cronmiller. Further discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried. Under Business 2, Resort Municipality Annual Report. We'll have a report on this one from our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just as some background information, Osoyoos is one of 13 communities in BC designated as a resort municipality. As a result of this special designation, Osoyoos is eligible for approximately $200,000 per year in capital funding that assists us in developing our visitor amenities. Community projects that have been funded by this program include the Canal Trail, Portuguese Monument, the boat trailer parking area, the entrance signs, and the Affordable Housing Strategic Plan. Osoyoos Tourism Development Funding also includes hotel room tax funding of approximately $200,000 to Destination Osoyoos through the town of Osoyoos that assists with community marketing. An annual report to the provincial government must be developed to report on the progress that communities are making in completing their identified projects and the overall tourism impact. There are requirements for the community to complete performance measurements on the projects developed and are attracting additional tourists to the community and the economic development impacts of visitation. To assist communities in reporting to the province, a template was developed by the Whistler Sustainability Center and is now the responsibility of the community to gather the needed research information to develop the annual report and the template provided. I am tabling for Council's acceptance the 2009 Osoyoos Resort Municipality Annual Report. I would also like to just provide some information on where the program is going, because I attended recently a Resort Municipality Administrators meeting. Osoyoos will continue to receive the funding under the existing program until July 1st. It will then move to a grant program which is due to the impacts of the HST. The new program will involve a grant program which will necessitate the development of a new contribution agreement and an updated capital plan. For us, because we did the stakeholder meeting in April, that will shorten the process for us, because we'll be able to use the information from that workshop to act as the draft, and then we'll probably have to have another meeting this fall to get to run it by the group once the plan has been developed. The new program will be basically attempting to meet the same principles as the old program. However, it will be limited to a $10 million cap, and that cap will be eaten into by the fact that Sun Peaks will be added as a resort municipality this year. A large portion of that $10 million goes to Whistler, and apparently the discussions are ongoing with Whistler right now to cap their amount to leave the pennies for the rest of us. So, and apparently it's going very well. Whistler is being a very good big brother about this whole program and is looking at that very positively. And there's also continued plans for the councils of the resort municipalities to meet this year at the UBCM, and Golden and Whistler will be co-hosting that, since the meeting will be in Whistler as part of the UBCM. So for now, I am presenting for council's approval the annual report as information.
Thank you. Motion to receive and approve. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Cronmiller. Further discussion on this? I guess I'd just like to say that I was a little bit worried when this was all coming down the pike with the HST, and when I read the report, I saw the $10 million cap, so I knew that that was a little bit less than what the province had been distributing earlier amongst the member communities. But I think it's great that we're still being recognized. It's great that we're working some of these numbers around, and this funding is this is the funding that we used to buy the beach cleaning machine.
That's right. I'm sorry I failed to mention that as well.
Right. So these were some of the nice little pluses that we saw, and I guess we're heading for 14 member communities now.
That's right. There was 14.
13. So there's 14 mostly small communities, and it has to do with amount of beds and things like that in your community. But we're very, very fortunate to be a part of it, and we'll take whatever money and recognition that we can get from the provincial government. Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure, but I believe that Mr. Romanko just got back from Golden, the meeting, where he was given the kind of the prototype to prepare the report. And it seemed to me that almost the next day we had the report. But regardless of how quick he was, I'd like to commend him on it. It is an excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chadsey. All in favor of receiving the report? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item of business, Business 3, Sun Bowl Arena Concession Agreement. These are a few changes coming up here. This is from Gerald Davies, Director of Recreation. May of 2010, the Sun Bowl Arena concession expired. The Coyotes were given priority to operate the concession as a part of their operating lease. In the lease that was signed with the Osoyoos Coyotes, it stated that they will run the concession under a separate agreement. They are not obligated to officially start until September 2010, but it would be a huge bonus to have the concession operational for exhibition games and other uses during the summer. Main focus of negotiations centered on the rental fees. In the most recent previous agreement, we received 10% of gross sales. For the last 10 years, we received approximately $21,000, with the highest year being $2,954 and the lowest year being $739. Discussing this agreement with the Director of Finance, it was suggested that we do a flat rate of $2,500 a year. A flat rate would be a better option for the town, as we do not have a true way of tracking a percentage of gross sales. The term of the agreement would correlate to the lease agreement with the team, which was for a 5-year term expiring in 2015. There are some options available. What are council's wishes? Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move.
I need it. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Going to make the motion. Thank you.
Yeah, I would move that we approve this agreement as presented.
Okay. And a seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any further input? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It makes sense to me. First of all, it's important. We want to make sure that our team is viable, and this gives them a little additional way to sustain themselves with another revenue center. And it sounds like it's reasonable from our point of view too, because it's sort of averaging what we've received in the past and just making that a flat rate. So I think it's probably going to be a win-win for both parties.
Great, thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Under Business 4, Development Permit Application, Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an application for residential development. The subject property is located at the corner of 74th Avenue and 89th Street. It's on the southwest corner. The applicant wishes to construct a 3-story building with 6 condominium units over level parking. The parking will be accessed off of 89th Street, and there will be 5 stalls located under the building and 6 stalls located around the perimeter of the building for a total of 11 parking stalls, which meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw. Each unit's approximately 1,100 square feet, and each have 2 bathrooms. The garbage will be enclosed along the side of the entrance next to the parkade, which is off of 89th Street. The design panel has reviewed the application on May the 11th and supported the form and character and the landscaping. There just some technical information. There will be a corner cut road dedication off of the corner, and referral comments are the Director of Operational Services had no concerns with the development. True Consulting, our engineering firm, just made mention that each unit needs to be individually metered as per the Town of Osoyoos water metering policy, and that the applicant should be required to submit a stormwater management plan consistent with the town standards. The building inspector requested that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant will need to provide a geotechnical report describing the soil bearing capacity for all footings and foundations. The fire chief, utility companies had no concerns with the development. The recommendation is that staff recommend that council approve development permit 1001 subject to the terms and conditions outlined, and for the most part I've already read them, and that would be a stormwater plan, metering, required metering, the geotech report, and the corner cut we have, and then there is some landscaping, and the landscape plan, the applicant is required to post security for the landscape plan. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve development permit 1001, and then I'll speak to that motion.
Seconder, Councillor Rhodes, speaking to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When council reviewed it earlier today, we all expressed some concern about kind of the traffic on 89th Street as it heads in an east-west direction, and also actually in the north-south. And the fact that the access to their parkade is off of 89th Street, right kind of in the middle of that hill. And we all did express some concern about the traffic there. I'm going to support my motion that to approve this development permit, but I'm thinking that we might want to ask our Public Works Department to kind of give us some guidance on whether or not we should have a 4-way stop at that corner.
So is that part of the motion? The
No.
motion was straight support.
Straight support, yeah.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, upon viewing it just prior to this meeting, I felt a little bit better because when you stand and turn your head down 74th Avenue and down 89th Street, there definitely there is potential for some vision blockage. I commented earlier today that this is a very high accident intersection, and certainly introduction of a four-way stop sign would definitely improve that. But with regard to the motion in the building, I'm really happy with it. I think the design of it was really well thought out. There was a model brought forward from Arizona, I believe, and some of that outside architecture, and that was applied to this particular plan. So yeah, I'm speaking in favor of the motion. I think it's a really, really good design building.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree with my other councillors. I think that it's the design is excellent, and it really fits the corner and close to downtown. It's good to have some multiple family places down closer to our downtown core, and so I think it's really a good project. However, I do have the concerns with the traffic, as mentioned as well, and when I looked at it, I would agree too that four-way stop may alleviate the problem. You can see traffic coming on southbound on 89th, but a little difficult, and traffic coming out of, granted it's not a big project, so there isn't a lot of traffic coming from that building, but there will be some, and we need to just ensure that it's safe for all concerned. So I would agree with the idea of a four-way stop there.
Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, likewise, I like the fact that our downtown is densifying a little bit more, and that we do have a multifamily building there. I'd like to maybe just ask our staff for a little guidance. I shared the concern about the not only the traffic that might be exiting from this development, but also just generally, I think Council and I too shared this concern about the speed of cars and going down into the hollow there, and having a park zone and a school zone. Would this matter of a four-way stop be an additional motion that we might make to simply, to without any reference necessarily or attaching it to this or deferring this in any way until some action was taken or some study was made?
Well, it depends if you want the development permit kind of stopped until the action occurs. I think what we would do in this situation is, if I recollect, we are having somebody from our insurance come down to take a look at Lakeshore Drive this summer and some of the issues that we have at Lakeshore Drive. So concurrently, when that particular traffic safety person is in town, we could probably have him look at this corner as well and provide us some guidance. If he makes that recommendation to us, then we could create a four-way stop there. It all depends on whether you want to make the development subject too, because alternatively, there's the provision that a traffic study be completed, probably at the developer's expense. But if you want to do that, then the development permit should not be approved unless that's done.
Thank you. And I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble supporting this, just because of that, just because of the traffic situation there, the entrance, exiting, close to the intersection, close to the hill. Stop sign on the hill. I think for the project's been out there for a while. I would like to see even a basic report that this thing would work. And believe me, I'm in favor of the development. This is a concrete building. This is the kind of building we like. It's infill. It's downtown. It's only 3 floors. this has got a lot of things going for it, but I'm still hung up on that traffic. You know, that is a very, very high incident corner, the corner of 89th and 74th. I just like a little bit more clarity there before I can support it, but you know, that'll come out in. Any further discussion? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we defer this for consideration to until a traffic study has been done to look at the situation on that corner and whether a four-way stop would be appropriate.
Well, we have the other motion on there, and this would certainly not be an amendment, because this is.
I think this would take proceedings. Earl? No. Oh, okay. Oh.
Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I did agree with the vision problems as you're entering and exiting this building, but I certainly don't think that's an obstacle that should stand in the way of issuing this development permit. I think we have a good plan in place. We have a method of controlling the speed through there. Yeah, I would have to disagree with that. I don't think that that's enough to stall this project anymore. I mean, the things that we're in total agreement with is the design of the building, the location, the densification aspect of it. It's all good, and we can control it through another matter quite adequately, in my opinion.
Yep. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Rhodes. This development is not creating a traffic problem. There is an existing one there, and a maximum of 11 vehicles is not going to increase that problem to any degree. We have an existing problem that's coming to our attention because of the development, but I don't feel that we should postpone approval of the development, which is a cost to the developer, because we have an existing traffic problem.
Thank you. Councillor Cronmiller.
Yes, I would agree. I think the traffic study is always a good thing in some ways, but it does cost money, and is it warranted when we are dealing with 11 vehicles? I don't think that the cost justifies the means in this case, and I think that I think we could move ahead with it, and certainly if once it goes to building permit, we could look at doing something with that intersection, and if our traffic safety people are here, they can have a look at it as well. I'm sure the RCMP would provide some opinion as well in this matter. I don't see any reason for not moving.
Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number business 5, Mr. and Mrs. Butula, Councillor Cronmiller, sewer connection.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A request has been received from Mr. and Mrs. Butula requesting a sewer service for their property, 9211 87th Street, from the newly constructed Northwest Sewer Project. This property is outside the town boundaries, and the town has a policy 1.3.11 that deals with extraterritorial service provision, and a bylaw for the Northwest sector should be considered. Other properties outside the town boundaries have been denied sewer connections. In this case, I would move that the policy be applied and that the sewer connection be denied, and with a letter to the Tulas to that effect.
Seconder? Councillor Rhodes. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Cronmiller.
In my mind, I think that given the Northwest Sewer Project and some of the other occurrences we've had with it, I would think for people in the regional district, that if they should wish to connect to the Northwest Sewer, they should make application through their government, through the regional district, and have them come to us with a request for hookup, as they were contracted to provide a service, and through the regional district. I would think that would be the appropriate method. And possibly they could go to their regional government and come back to us that way through a request from the regional district. Direct as this is a sound.
Yeah, and there's a little pocket of, they're in a little pocket of residences there. I think there's maybe 4, maybe, you know, it might get an area rather than. Any further discussion on Councillor Rhodes?
No.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So that would be to deny. Yep. Under business 6, a council meeting on November the 15th, 2010. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The number of council members are going to be attending an important conference, and that is a conference on building sustainable communities in Kelowna on that day, which is held annually, and this time happens to be held in the fall. And it begins on the 15th and at noontime. So because of our new schedule, it would we would be in session during this first day of the conference. So it has been a very productive conference, and we've a number of us have gone in the past, and several of us are going again this year. So there is a proposal that we do something about the meeting that we normally would have on that day, and we were advised by staff that if we cancel the meeting on the 15th, there would be a span of 5 weeks between council meeting and as there is an additional week in November. And so what I would propose, because we do have 5 Mondays in November, I would propose that we move this to the 22nd, which would be a week later, and make it on the fourth Monday of that month, rather than canceling it altogether. So that would be my motion, that we reschedule it to the 22nd.
Is for a seconder. Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion, Councillor Ryan?
No, as I said, I think that it, rather than omit it, I think we'll be back at the end of that conference, and I think we'll be ready for the meeting if that doesn't breed any other problems.
I've just been informed that probably the only problem it would create would be for our television, because that's the set day of council meeting for Oliver. So we probably wouldn't have the telecast on TV, but other than that, we could probably work it into our schedules.
And that would be unfortunate to miss Channel 18, but well, no, then we're really off kill. We'll probably just have to miss it. It's unfortunate, but that makes good sense to me going to. Councillor Rhodes, seconder yet?
No, very good motion. I too was very concerned about the 5-week span between the meetings, and kind of drew me away from the first option of canceling it altogether. So yeah, good motion.
And if we don't have meetings, we get such a backlog of work. We never seem to crawl out of the well. You know, it's like the frog, 3 steps up and 4 back. We've been there before, so I think if we can keep the meeting going, it's going to be to everyone's benefit. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Business number 7 This was a late addition today, and this is for a BMX track. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council received this information this morning at our committee of the whole meeting. We have a gentleman from Karamias, and he's interested in starting a BMX club here in Osoyoos, and he has asked the town to support him by allowing him to develop our existing BMX track, which is located up next to the high school. He would like to start a not-for-profit club, which will be open for all residents. His ultimate goal is to get the national championships here within the next few years, and he has agreed to shape the track and bring it to a level of usability. The track has not been operational for some time, and it does need some work. Starting gate is intact, and last year our recreation department did some minor work to keep the weeds down and make it more user-friendly. In order for this gentleman to do this, we would need an agreement in place, and he wants to get going as soon as possible. Just a note that we were told that he is affiliated with whatever the BMX affiliation is, so I'm not exactly sure what the handle is for it. So we have a huge, long lease agreement with this gentleman. Council has reviewed the lease document, and it's fairly standard. It's quite typical of any not-for-profit agreement with the town of Osoyoos, and it's a lease agreement used by other municipalities up the valley for a BMX. So I'm going to make a recommendation that council directs staff to enter into an agreement with the gentleman, Mr. Bobin, for the operation of the BMX track.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Cronmiller. Further discussion. Mr. Romanko first, please.
Just to clarify that, the lease agreement would be with an association, a nonprofit association, and not with the individual specifically, right?
Yes.
Okay, just so to clarify that.
Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say that I think this is terrific. I know this track has sat there vacant for all the years I've lived here, which is probably about 11. And when it was before that, I've talked to one or two people that had young people involved in it before that time in the 90s when it was built. And but since then the weeds have predominated, I think, and some of our young people do know it's there and do use it from time to time. But I think this is a wonderful opportunity to make use of a facility we have that has been dormant. I'm pleased to see this and look forward to the work that Mr. Bob is going to do.
Thanks for that, Councillor Cronmiller. I hope those weeds aren't puncturevine. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to that there is a group coming forward to use the track. I think it would be another asset in the community and another recreational opportunity. We did review and made some comments on the agreement this morning, and I just wonder, are we directing staff to negotiate an agreement and then come back to us for approval, or are they taking those comments into account?
Those changes have been made to the existing agreement, specifically the $5 million liability. I think that was the key one, and that discussion has occurred with the gentleman already, and he's agreed to it.
Good.
And I guess just a final comment. I'd like to congratulate Gerald Davies, our Director of Recreation. He took this agreement out of Clone. It's 26 pages. We didn't have to rewrite it. He managed to find an agreement that was appropriate for our needs. So we always look at those kind of cost-saving and time-saving measures. Thought I'd mention that. Anything further on the BMX track? All in favor? Opposed? We'll be riding soon. Heading into the reports part of the meeting.
still the kiosk.
Oh, there is two. There is two. Thank you very much. Under business 8, this would be a food and beverage kiosk at Destination Osoyoos, the lead by Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 agendas in front of me, and I have none of the information available to me. Okay. Maybe we'll pass it on to Councillor Chadsey. She has it. I cannot explain why I do not have it.
Okay, yeah, great.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Chadsey, please.
Thank you. The location is our Visitor Information Center. And just to do a little bit of a history, Destination Osoyoos has their offices up there, and they have a contract with Tourism British Columbia to manage the Visitor Information Center. So as well as being our destination marketing agent, they are also the manager of the Vic Center. And Tourism BC is always looking for ways to make these centers more economically viable. And so what we have here is a request from Tourism BC to install a food and beverage kiosk next to the Visitor Information Center. The proposed location is shown on the map, a site plan. I think it will come up on the screen. The zoning of the property is C3, which is highway commercial, and that does allow for proposed food and beverage. The kiosk will measure approximately 16 by 20 feet, and it was actually built for the Olympic Games at a cost of $53,000. So what they're saying then is really we'll have a little portion of the legacy that will come to Osoyoos. The kiosk will be retrofitted by adding some counters, a refrigerator, and the sinks, the equipment required to operate a food and beverage. There will be some minor plumbing that needs to be done. The application is really quite detailed, the application from the BC Visitor Information Center. And we have verbal from Destination Osoyoos. We know verbally that they are certainly supporting this request. We don't have it in writing, but we are going to receive it, and that's really just a little bit of housekeeping on our part. And so in terms of the operation of it, I'm just kind of scanning here. I'm sorry, it's but I can't just see immediately what the operating hours are going to be. But they're going to target the Greyhound bus, which is the passenger pickup depot at the Vic Information Center, and also people who come in to just for information. So they're looking for a motion to support improvements to the land and to direct staff to accept a building permit application for the kiosk for the purpose of an accessory building for the BC Vic Center for the purpose of a food and beverage.
Thank you, Councillor Chadsey. Is there a seconder on that? Councillor Rying. Further discussion on that, Councillor Chadsey? Further, I think you got it basically across what we're looking for. We're moving ahead with a food kiosk and looking for a building permit. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I support this. I think there are a number of reasons. Number one, let's be honest, there is the visitor center needs it needs to continue having additional revenue sources, and so I think this will be important. I initially was concerned about the impact on nearby local food providers and food services, but in their outline they say that this is not going to be fast food. It's going to be locally sourced products, and they're going to try to make them a little bit unusual. They talked about gelato, and if they source that locally, they'd be working with one of our other providers, and talked about fruit and other healthy foods, and pointed out that you know, it's also good for people to have another reason to get out of their cars besides looking at maps and getting local information. They might want to have some beverage there. They might want to have some you know, local juice, or buy some cherries or things like that. So I think it will be another enhancement of that area, and will perhaps be another reason for people to spend a little more time in Osoyoos.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item of business would be under the reports, paying some bills, looking for some resolutions from council for the General and Sun Bowl, representing balances in the following funds, amounting to, for the general fund, $2,640,059.90. Resolution motion, please. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Cronmiller. Discussion. All in favor. Opposed. Carried. For the Sun Bowl Arena, $9,142.75. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. All in favor. Opposed. Carried. And payroll accounts to be received in the amount of $69,566.01. Councillor Cronmiller, Councillor Ryan, all in favor, opposed, carried. Get the bills paid. I guess that's one of our main functions here. The building permit report for the month of June 2010. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we have our monthly report, and it's getting a little longer, which is very nice. Some renovations and some garages and alterations to a new restaurant that's going to be starting up downtown. And so the total for the month, $229,200. And the total to date in this year is $2,278,700, which is about not quite $1.5 million below last year. So we're picking up, and hopefully over the summer there'll be a lot more. So I'd like to move receipt of this for our information.
Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion? All in favor? Passed. Carried. Next item would be under reports, committee reports. The Waterfront Steering Committee draft minutes of June 25th, 2010. Present was Councillor Ted Cronmiller for part of the meeting, Councillor Marg Chadsey, Councillor Michael Ryan, Allan Cunningham, Terry Underwood from True Engineering, Glenn Harris from the Shoreline Development. Of course, Allan Cunningham is the Director of Planning and Development Services. There was quite a bit of information there relating to the marina. I'm not going to go through and read it all out. We're heading into a public hearing tomorrow on that, so maybe you know, the time that I was reading all this may not really be all that relevant after tomorrow night. So looking for a motion to receive the minutes of that meeting. Again, it was talking about phasing in and the Fs and the time frame and all that, which to me right now is quite up in the air with that public hearing tomorrow night. Looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion from council, please? Councillor Cronmiller.
Yeah, I just comment, and I think you were kind of touched on it, but it's on our website. So, you know, through the minutes and through the agenda for this meeting, people can find it and will be able to read it. And I think, given all the circumstances in the past few weeks, that it's important that these be there and be received, and people look for them in the future as well. Keeps them abreast of what the planning is for that whole park area.
Great. Thank you. Anything further? All in favor, motion to receive. Opposed? Thank you. That's carried. Anna. Report from the CAO, Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just some few items from each one of the departments in terms of their business from the last couple of weeks, starting with corporate services. That corporate services includes our bylaw enforcement area, and they've been busy dealing with bylaw issues, including parks enforcement, camping and no camping zones, parking issues, and encroachment onto public properties, just to name a few. Certainly, the number of people down in Gyro Beach area has caused them a lot of concern, and has spent a lot of time, as well as with dealing with our boat trailer parking issue that's developed over the last week. Our director assisted the Emergency Operations Center in Oliver for the mudslide, so my thanks to Jeanette, our corporate services manager, for the work that she did there in terms of representing us and meeting our obligations in that area. Off-street parking bylaw was completed, and also work continues on the water conservation bylaw. In terms of finance, the focus of the finance department has been on collecting taxes, and I guess there was a lineup on Friday here for the latecomers, and but that being done, and we'll be having a report from the Director of Finance hopefully for the next meeting. In terms of planning and development, the Director of Planning Development is a member of the technical committee for the regional growth strategy for the regional district, and they're having meetings on how our official community plans can meld with the regional growth strategies of the RDOS, and they're working diligently on that, and also working on our climate action planning with Stantec Consulting, and we'll be doing some work in that, meeting our obligations in that particular area. A lot of staff time has been spent working on the Oasis Development Project, and we're hoping that's going to be coming to Council very shortly. And also the Director attended the Waterfront Steering Committee, which we saw the minutes from earlier. Public Works is responsible for initiating our unsightly premises actions, and we sent out 47 letters to various properties, and now we're just waiting for the response, and if they're not response, then we'll go in and clean them up. Cell 2 at the lagoons is 95% complete, and also the road upgrades and sidewalk construction Finch to Eagle Court is underway, and that'll be a nice addition to our entranceway into town. It's shaping up very, very nicely. The laneway from 83rd to Kingfisher was paved in response to a delegation that was here to Council earlier in the year. And our capital project of our new spare pump arrived on the 22nd of June. Some trail maintenance has occurred on our walking trails. It's been really hectic for our public works crew. They said the rains have really let those weeds grow, and it's been really difficult to keep up. So I think they'll be getting the flail mower on there. I haven't been there for a week, but they said they were going to get it out there, try and work on it. And just in time for all the summer activities, our new truck and refurbished bucket has arrived, and the banners went up, and that for this past week. Recreation, all shutdowns have been completed, and I guess the ice is in now, so if it's going to be too warm in the coming week, there's a place to hide over at the arena. Summer student interviews were completed along with corporate services, and we have our summer fun program starting, 6 students. And just to let you know, this last weekend, we tried, as part of our Resort Municipality initiative, to get feedback from our tourists. So we had 4 of those students working very diligently and trying to get 100 interview responses. And I guess, try as they may, the tourists were into having fun and not filling out surveys. Can you imagine, huh? But they were successful in getting about 30 anyway, so at least we've got a start to meeting our survey commitment. And shortly, the refinishing and lining of the gymnasium floor will start at the Sonora Center. And our Director of Recreation, congratulations to Gerald Davies. He was leading the Relay for Life this year and put a lot of his personal time into that, and the donations nearing $35,000. So that being said, for the other directors, myself, as mentioned earlier, I was at meetings in Golden to discuss resort municipality issues, and also worked on the Destination Osoyoos 3-year agreement and the CIRAC agreements, and completed the annual report for resort municipalities. Also developed the visitor experience assessment survey that was administered by those students on the weekend, and have had a few responses, had to make some responses relating to the Northwest Sewer Project. So that's been keeping me busy these last few weeks. So with that.
Thank you. Motion to receive, please. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes. Discussion, all in favor. Opposed. Heading into the councillor reports. Looks like it would be Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things that I wanted to mention tonight. First off, I have a button that I'm wearing today that I got a kick out of. My son was here visiting on the weekend, and he said he was going through a box of buttons. He found this one and some pins and things from days gone by. And this one says, Osoyoos loves tourists. And it's a button with a sun on it, and I think it's from 1982. Would be of when he would have been here to visit to pick up this button. And I thought it was kind of interesting that Osoyoos and tourism and resort municipality funding and all those things take such priority with us. And I think they've always been with us. We're a tourist town, and I think all of us have to get with the program and accept that. If we don't for now, it's important to realize that it's always been that way. And I think with our weather, that's why it is. So we open the door and welcome everyone as best we can. Another incident that I had on the weekend was walking, and I watched somebody dump some garbage near a big garbage container and drive away. And it was like, they're dumping garbage because they think that they're, instead of disposing of it appropriately, they're dumping it somewhere where somebody else will pick it up, namely the town. And I think as good citizens, if you notice somebody doing that, please make note and let the town know, and the town staff, and we can deal with individuals who don't appreciate our bylaws and clean town that we have. And the last but not least, I would say a big congratulations to the Cherry Fiesta staff and committee that once again, a wonderful day on July the 1st. Great parade. The people on Main Street, I think, were as big a crowd as I've seen lining the street as we went down through the parade. Park festivities and the fireworks, once again, second to none as far as I'm concerned. And it was a great job, and job well done, and thanks very much. That's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, boy, does this town know how to party, eh? Yeah, our July 1st celebration was extraordinary this year. I've been to a lot of parades over the last few years, never seen anything quite like the crowd that was there this time. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the service clubs that work so hard as well on this Canada Day event, starting off with the Osoyoos Lake Lions Club with their pancake breakfast in the morning, and ending off with the Elks Club of Osoyoos, who operate the beer garden down on the beach every year. And everything that happened in between and afterwards was just extraordinary. At the end of the day, we had a fireworks session, and at our last meeting, Mayor Wells had mentioned that the funding was a little bit short, and I'd like to take this opportunity to offer a profound thank you to Mayor Wells and Dr. Martha Collins who took the initiative to promote this this shortfall by placing an advertisement at their expense in our local paper and asking people to step up to the plate. And you know, it was only a few days before, but I understand that that happened. As a matter of fact, I think there's even a couple of dollars thrown into reserve for next year. And you know, what a great thing that they did. You know, it wasn't that the fireworks were in jeopardy, but they certainly would not have been the show that we've seen. So thank you very much to both of you. Good job, well done, really helped out an awful lot. And finally, I'd like to just mention that we are having a public hearing tomorrow at 6:30 at the Sonora Center in the gymnasium. I know it's been mentioned a few times tonight, but I really want to emphasize the importance of coming out to this this public inquiry tomorrow night. It's an important thing in our community. It really doesn't matter if you're for or against the matter that's being brought forward. We need to hear from both sides of it. It's very, very important, and this will be the final step before we move forward with this, and the last opportunity to speak publicly about it. And it is important, if you have any thoughts or ideas about this, that you come out and make those thoughts and ideas known to us tomorrow night. So just to repeat myself, Tuesday night tomorrow, 6:30 at the Sonora Center in the main gymnasium. And I guarantee there'll be seats for everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I was a little embarrassed about that, but thanks again. I do. It is appreciated. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to just pick up on the public hearing that Councillor Rhodes was talking about, and it is important. I know there have been people who've been writing letters to the editor and sending emails to council, and I'd like to encourage you to come to the meeting. If you've never done it before, it doesn't matter. You don't have to say a lot. You can have it written down if you want, but do come and express your opinions. And it's going to be done a little differently. We passed the bylaw tonight about procedures, but we're also kind of anticipating those because we're going to have a slightly different format for that, and there will be a bit of a summary of the situation. And I think the developers are going to give a little bit of a preview of what they have in mind and how they came to that and why this is happening. So I'm sure that will give some basic information for people, so that if you hadn't anything to say when you arrived, you probably would be stimulated to think about something and perhaps share it when you are there. I also was observing people and things on the ground and litter. I call it litter instead of perhaps garbage because it wasn't quite of that scale. But I was gratified to see someone who was obviously one of our guests in town, who was walking along with his wife and child and reached down and picked up something and went over to the nearest trash can and deposited it. And so I'd like to just invite everybody to take that kind of civic pride in your community, and whether you're a resident or someone who's visiting us, if it's not on the ground, if we don't drop it on the ground, that's good. But if it's there, you know, just pick it up and carry it along until you find a place to put it. Again, wonderful things happened on Canada Day. The weather was not everything that we would have wanted it to be, but it was wonderful, and just a great crowd out, and everybody seemed to be having a wonderful time. And also to our staff who organized the town golf tournament and party about a week ago. We had a wonderful day. It was a lot of fun, so it was nice to get everybody together who's associated with the town and making it run and playing together, playing golf together. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Chadsey.
Make this very short because all the other councillors have said exactly what I feel. So from the heart to the Festival Society, to Frank Sanfleet, to all of the volunteers, you did us proud. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. That's it? Wonderful. And I guess as far as local Osoyoos goes, I'll just cover that by saying ditto. But I do have a couple reports I'm just going to throw in here, and they were both happened to be the out of town that council okayed today for $100, and one was the geese management program in Penticton. Two members or employees of the Canadian Wildlife Service flew up from Vancouver, met with a lot bigger body this time, met with the regional district and city of Penticton, dealing with our geese problem. That's going to be a tough sell to move ahead. Certainly not going to be an easy program. They are in the conservation field, and I don't see them readily moving off of that. We gave a lot of evidence, including that 4-year-old boy from Summerland that's probably going to be challenged and be ill for the rest of his life because of goose feces on parks, and we did deal with them, and they certainly heard a united front why we need their help, and I guess we'll be listening for the next steps and to see what happens as a result of that. But it certainly wasn't, I didn't walk away feeling that we were going to be looking at some sort of resolution. The other one was in Princeton. It was a Highway 3 coalition. This has been reformulated. The committee has been around for X number of years, maybe 10 or 15 years, but it had gone a little flat. It was resurrected about a year ago. We had the mayors there from Highway 3, from the Southern Trans-Provincial Highway, from Princeton to Elkford, and we had four individuals there from the Ministry of Highways. Had MLA Slater there, and MLA Speaker of the House Barasoff were also there. I thought it was a very, very productive meeting. There are some other routes to go. There was one proposal from the top of Sunday Summit to Eastgate, and I believe that one was coming in well over $100 million. So with the highways folks there, we looked at probably 3 or 4 areas that we could really speed up that highway and do some good work. They're going to come back with some drawings and see what that means and see if we can get a start on it, start picking out some of our real bottlenecks and some of the unsafe sections of the road. So I actually felt very good about the progress made at the Highway 3 coalition. That's my report. Thank you, and looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. We're adjourned. Good night, folks.